Gather round as we are about to tell you the legend of a Hera Hammerhand, greatest warrior Rohan ever knew. Whoa, wait a second. What does she have that I don't? She doesn't want to get married and she's red-headed. She's literally a clone of me. Fair point, Merida. War of the Rohirrim, not directed by Peter Jackson this time, but by Kenonji Kamanga. So sorry if I got that name wrong. And is the first Middle-earth movie, I'm sure, that's not based on a book or any pre-existing material, but it could be further appendices from the Tolkien archives that Peter Jackson has uncovers, and the first anime Middle-earth movie, and the fourth animated Middle-earth film. So the War of the Rohirrim tells the story taking place 180 years before the events of The Lord of the Rings, and 120 years before Bilbo found the ring in The Hobbit. We follow Hera Hammerhand, Princess of Rohan, and a daughter of King Helm Hammerhand, and she refuses to marry Wolf, who was once her childhood friend, now turned enemy to when Helm Hammerhand realizes that Wolf's clan are seek a throne, not an alliance. He kills Wolf's father in a confrontation, which ignites a war in between Rohan and Wolf's people, in which Hera must defy all expectations of her to save her people. Now, biggest shout out to my two awesome pals, Ollie Pajak and Stephen Mead from Pajak's Perspective and IQuadv5, who saw this movie with me yesterday for our Three Amigos Part 7 meetup. It was, well, such a pleasure to see this with you both.
I'm IQuadv5. IQuadv4. Yeah, Stitch as well. So we've just come back from seeing, we're going to punch a bit close on that today, Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, which is the new anime Lord of the Rings film. It's not directed by Peter Jackson. It's the first Middle-earth movie where someone else is directing it. I think someone called Kenji Kamea or something like that. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philip Boyens, who made Lord of the Rings, are all involved in the project. Sorry, you might want to lean in a bit closer. Yeah, so what did you think of the film, lads?
Fantastic. Yes, I enjoyed the animation. It's very, I wouldn't, it sort of, I wouldn't say copy some of the scenes from Lord of the Rings. It was kind of sort of bring. Sorry,
that's all right. Take a look. Harry, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, this was a highly enjoyable return to Middle-earth. I mean, even if I don't think it's a perfect Middle-earth movie, and I may be the odd one out there, but I kind of like the Hobbit trilogy better than this.
Oh, no, that's fair enough.
But don't get me wrong, it's certainly as it's got the mature tone of the Peter Jackson Middle-earth films. There are scenes for an anime where a character gets stabbed by a pitchfork and there are limbs that cut off, and the emotional stakes are high. But in terms of humour, there's barely any humour in this movie. It's a nearly all grim. Like, I mean, at least the Hobbit trilogy had great humour to it and balanced a little more fun, in my opinion. But yeah, but Steve, if you wanted to continue.
the blood budget was used. Yeah,
Drawn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I thought it was very good, actually. I was surprised. I didn't know what to expect from the trailers. Didn't really do it justice, and I do agree. Perhaps maybe it is a tad humorless, but I still thought it was epic, and it did feel like it belongs in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings Middle Earth universe that he's created with the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. In terms of what Harry said, I could see where he's coming from, but I really liked the female heroine, Hera. I thought she was amazing.
yeah, she
Hero.
kicks ass.
Yeah. Yes,
Hera
Hera.
heroine.
Hera the heroine. And the story of how the Rohirrim came about and how that sort of there was a corruption in who was ruling Rohan, and then this massive conflict which emerged from vengeance. And this character Wolf, who well, I won't spoil it, but who has a bit of beef with some of the people in charge of Rohan. If you loved the Jackson trilogy, it definitely feels like the same tone, despite that it's a different director. And the animation is beautiful. It's really refreshing actually to see this new style come to Middle Earth, and you know it feels grandiose like the Lord of the Rings. And the design of the film is brilliant with the whole the Golden Hall of Edoras and Helm's Deep. All of that stuff, it feels like I'm watching an animated version of the Two Towers. It's really cool, and there's some nice callbacks as well. We won't spoil them, but there's some good references in there as well. It's quite long, at 2 hours 15 minutes, I think. It's quite long, but I was very impressed. I'd say it never felt dull, and the battle scenes are pretty awesome. So,
Yeah, like I do think well, I think the best action sequence is when is the one that occurs during Edoras and Mumakil are involved, and not to spoil it too much.
yeah, there's a big battle at Edoras, isn't there? I mean, what was your favourite battle scene?
Oh, well, I liked it when I liked it when the king jumped in to save, to sort of, he sort of stood by the gate after he saved Hera from, I'm not sure what the monster was, but it was this gigantic, like, it's almost like the abominable snowman.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Oh,
But-
when they were in the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
But then, like, the way he defends himself, and then he. Sorry, if anyone doesn't want any spoilers, probably best to skip this. But yeah, the moment when he's defending the gates, the king, and then he dies sort of frozen, but he's still sort of in a pose.
That was epic, definitely. And also the soundtrack I thought was pretty good. There's a couple of callbacks to Howard Shaw's music. There is a different composer though, and you can feel that. But when the film started and you hear the original theme, you're like, oh, okay, this is definitely the same universe as Jackson. Yeah, Peter Jackson's hand is definitely in this. But it's quite nice to have a different director's vision. I mean, did you like the direction, Harry?
Yeah, I think Kenji Komando did a good job with continuing what Jackson had established, and to see Middle Earth in anime form, it's so fresh, and I have to say, the end credits song by Paloma Paris the Riser, it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, and the end credits, we won't spoil it, but the way the end credits look are nice and very nostalgic. Yeah. I'll say that. But I think we'll close it here because my arm's getting tired. Any last words?
Subscribe to Harry Thomas Pictures and Ollie P. Jackson.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and
Yes.
vice versa, subscribe to Pajak Productions.
Go and see this film.
E5.
Yeah, subscribe to all of us. Go and see Lord of the Rohirrim if you love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Hey, go and see if you don't love Lord of the Rings. Maybe you'll love it. This might win you over. It's definitely gritty like Lord of the Rings.
Oh yes.
Whereas The Hobbit is a bit lighter.
Peace and love, everybody.
And I hope this movie was a worthy 29th birthday present for Stephen Mees, and I did put this on my top 10 most anticipated movies for 2024, but I forgot it was coming out after months because Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema undermarketed this movie. We didn't get a trailer or any footage until literally August, so yeah, the marketing could have begun sooner, but and The movie itself has sadly not gotten a much better reception than the Hobbit trilogy. In fact, it has the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score for a New Line Cinema uh, Middle-earth movie that Peter Jackson has been involved with, criticizing it for being generic and overlong. And sadly, this is another movie of that fucking woke criticism. That criticism that is completely irrelevant, where they're like, oh, it's throwing men under the bus. It's making the female lead better than all the males. Shut up! It isn't. It's okay to have a change and a female lead in a Middle Earth movie, because Middle Earth has been a sausage fest from the beginning. And the Hobbit book had no female characters at all. Is that sexist or what? So I'm glad Peter Jackson and co have rightly updated Tolkien's material to include more strong women. As a fan of Middle Earth and of anime, does this movie combine the two awesomely? While I don't think War of the Rohirrim is the masterpiece that it could have been, it is not a perfect return to Middle Earth, and I would still rank the Hobbit trilogy above this. So which I will get into why, but this is still a highly enjoyable return to Middle Earth, I I think some of the critics' criticisms are unjustified and biased. Yeah, the protagonist Hera, she is now one of my uh, absolute favorite Middle Earth characters. Certainly protagonists. She certainly kicks the crap out of Frodo Baggins. She is cute for sure, and she may have similarities to Merida from Braver, like her not wanting a husband and being a redheaded, but that's it. She is not just Merida 2.0 as the critics are criticizing, particularly Grace Randolph. You know, her mother never turns into a bear, and she doesn't wield a bow and arrow I mean, can you imagine if Hera's mother was a skin changer like Beowulf? I mean, the only cliche with her is that she has no mother. Seriously, why is Middle Earth so anti-mother? Why do they feel the need to kill off mothers? But Hera does lose so much in this movie, so you do feel bad for her for losing her entire family, her father and both her brothers during this war. But the only family she has by the end is Anoa, who's an old shield maiden who once defended Rohan, and she's like a mother to Hera, and Anoa would be the second best character in the movie. She can still hold her own despite her age, and I do love that Hera is smart and can use her brains, not brawn, to beat her opponents. And like how she lures the Mummerkill into the jaws of the tentacled beast in the forest, and how she climbs the mountain to get the eagle's allegiance. And yeah, the Eagles are in this movie, but sadly they don't do a lot, so which was kind of disappointing. I do think the Eagles could have been utilized a little better. And Hell Hammerhand, voiced by legendary Brian Cox, Hera's father, yeah. Hardy warrior with a body made of steel. Yeah, just he can kill with just one punch, literally. Yes, he doesn't initially let his daughter fight, but it's only because he does adore her and wants to keep her safe. And see him go into a coma and descend into madness after the loss of his sons is a real tragedy. And uh, as for uh, Wolf, the main antagonist of this movie, he would have to be the weakest Middle Earth villain for me. He's no Smaug, he's no Gollum, he's no Sauron, he's no Azog. He's just a petulant child who chucks his toys out of the freaking pram and starts a war and wants to burn Rohan to the ground, all because Hera gave him his scar. in his childhood, and all because she doesn't want to marry him. And Wallander because, well, Hell Hammerhander did kill his father, but that wasn't Hera that killed his father. He should not be blaming her for that. And plus, his father was threatening their home. But the animation is stellar, and it does immerse you beautifully back into the world of Middle Earth. This does feel like a Peter Jackson Middle Earth movie, even though he's not directing. Him and Fran Walsh and Philippa Bones are just producers this time round. But Kenoji Kamangla, he did a pretty solid job of continuing Peter Jackson's legacy that he established. And I was worried this movie would bank on nostalgia too much, just because the trailers showed clips of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, and there are uses of Howard Shore's music in the soundtrack, even though the soundtrack is composed by Stephen Gardner, who does a good job of capturing the gritty feel of this movie. But thankfully, the movie only has one or two references to the other movies, but it's mostly an original story that keeps the fan service to a minimum. And I don't care that there are no hobbits and no dwarves or elves in this movie, because they had their spotlight in the other movies. It's fresh to focus on the men of Middle-earth for a change. And yes, while we never physically see Miranda Otto's Eowyn, we do hear her voice narrating the story, which is a wonderful way of telling it, and just a blessing to have her back after so long. I'm sure Hera Eowyn idolizes as like her rock and ancestor, and even Saruman gets a cameo towards the end, and Gandalf gets a brief mention. This is one of such a dark and ambitious animated epic. Like, it's the longest animated movie ever made at 2 hours and 30 minutes, so even surpassing the runtime of Across the Spider-Verse. This movie is serious throughout, and you can see why it's rated PG-13 and 12A, which most animation doesn't go that far. And there's one moment when a guy is stabbed with a pitchfork. There are frequent bloody images and limbs being severed, like the battle scenes in the Peter Jackson Middle-earth movies. The battle that's particularly blew me away, and the best part of the movie was the battle at Ezerest in the Mizzle, where the Mummakiller come in and wreck shit up. But so that's another nitpick I do have. I do wish this movie wasn't so humorless. I do think there could have been just a tad more humor. Like, the Hobbit trilogy did a better job of balancing the humor and the drama, and that gave The Hobbit, I thought, a little more heart and charm to it, just for me personally. But my friends seem to put this one above The Hobbit trilogy. I totally understand if you do feel that way. And the final battle at Helm's Deep is still a satisfactory climax, I guess, but it is the weakest action scene in the movie for me. As I mean, it is awesome to see Hera take on Wolf in a wedding dress, and to see her just choke him with the shield. But it's over with too quickly. Say what you want about the climactic battle of the Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies, but that battle was on another level in comparison to this one. And the end credits on The Rider by Paloma Paris, it is a work of art, and I pray she gets a nomination. She really deserves it. Yeah, it's such a shame this movie's likely gonna bomb and gonna get snubbed of all the Best Animated Feature awards, because overall, The War of the Rohirrim has its flaws, but it's is a still awesome Middle-earth entry, and I and it's far better than the animated Middle-earth movies from the 70s and 80s. And yes, I know you're going to ask, it is leagues better than the Rings of Power, no doubt about that. So it is a return to form in that sense. I give the War of the Rohirrim 4 stars out of 5. Great movie. Oh yes, even if we're never going to get a sequel to this movie, I'd at least pray that we can get more movies focused on the character of Hera. Maybe a Hera and Gandalf team-up movie. I mean, that would be uh, fucking epic, am I right? Well, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what are your thoughts on The War of the Rohirrim, and how does it compare to the other Middle-earth movies for you, Peter Jackson or not? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'll see you next time when I rank the Middle-earth movies, and I will try and review Rudolph 1964 for its 60th anniversary. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.